Everyone. We are proud to welcome Danelle, is it pronounced Danelle, right?
Danelle, yeah.
Danelle from NREL, who's going to talk about a little bit about NREL and your internship programs.
Right.
So I won't talk much more besides that. I'll let you take it over.
All right. Great. Well, thank you for having me. I was just saying this is the first time I've been to Pueblo, so it's great to get a reason to come down here. So my name's Danelle Wilder. I work for the National Renewable Energy Laboratory in Golden, Colorado. We also have a wind site in Boulder, Colorado. And what I do there is the university recruiting. So we have a big internship and postdoc program, and I help coordinate those. So I want to tell you about a couple of our programs that we have. So just a little bit about NREL. There's 17 national labs across the nation, all funded by the Department of Energy. Everyone has different focus, like Los Alamos, or LANL they call it, focuses on nuclear. Other labs have their different focuses. Ours is the primary focus of renewable energy and energy efficiency. So I think we have the coolest mission, but I guess I'm biased. So we started as a solar lab, so our primary focus was solar cell research. In 1974, didn't really get off the ground until about 1977, so about 37 years we've been there. About 2,400 employees at our facility, with about 300 of those being interns or postdocs, so a good portion of early career individuals. We kind of like to think we have this living model, so we've gotten some new buildings. One of our newest buildings is the Research Support Facility, and it's kind of the future of how most business buildings will be. So like when it's 75 degrees out, windows, or of course the building knows it, and the windows will automatically open. And what are some of the other features? Like they have daytiming as far as when the sun glares too hot, they'll have tint in the window. And then it's also built from long ways from east to west to get the most solar. So kind of the future. We also have lower cubes, like we don't have closed buildings or offices like this because it restricts the airflow, so that reduces energy. So kind of a living campus. We also have a garage that has PV or solar cells all on top of it. And they have plug-in car stations for you, so kind of what the future will look like for businesses. Again, Department of Energy owns us, but we technically are a contractor. Each of the 17 national labs are managed by a third party. So we're government, quasi-government, I guess is the word. So we're not like DOE paid employees, we're paid by the Alliance for Sustainability. So slightly different, but that's how the national labs are. So operated by the Alliance for Sustainable Energy. These are the different areas of focus. So if you're thinking of an internship, full-time, whatever it might be, these are the areas that we would go into. So we have a residential buildings area, solar, wind, water, biomass, hydrogen, small geothermal. We don't have a lot of funding for that right now, but it does exist. Grid infrastructure, which is one of the bigger areas, and I have a small video for that because that's kind of the future of where we're going. Distributed energy, battery and storage, transportation, and then we also have another area. I like to call these kind of like the cool projects, only because I think they're interesting, not that the other areas aren't. But like right now we have a project with the Native Americans to make their reservations more sustainable. So these are kind of our outreach projects. Or other things like if there was a natural disaster, we'll go in there and give them expertise. So slightly different than just research, but kind of expertise and help to get their mission going as well, kind of a mentoring role. So that brings us to the energy systems integration. So the video that I'll show will go into more detail, but the biggest struggle we have right now is integration of renewables onto the grid. So the infrastructure of the grid is outdated. It was only meant to produce energy, not to accept energy back. All renewables give energy back, so we have an energy storage problem. So this facility was created 2 years ago. It's a megawatt scale, so it's able to do research at a higher level. And it'll be able to solve problems like what happens if everyone goes home at 8 p.m. and plugs in their car. We'd have rolling blackouts, right, because there's too much energy on demand. We got to figure out those problems before we can actually get renewables onto the grid. So that's where we're headed next with this facility, and that's where the video is. Let's see. Oh, no. Are you going to pop up? No. It is. Normally it goes. Oh, maybe I need to enable content. Aha, that was the problem. Oh, like, oh, on the, where is it? Up here?
A first-of-its-kind facility that addresses the challenges of large-scale integration of clean energy technologies into the energy systems that power the nation.
It'll spawn new areas of research, it'll spawn new areas of inquiry, and I think for the most part, we'll see system science in a new way that we've never seen before.
The U.S. Department of Energy's Energy Systems Integration Facility, or ESIF, at the National Renewable Energy Laboratory is the proving ground for green energy.
One of the unique capabilities that we have at this particular facility is that we'll be able to test at the megawatt scale.
It is a facility designed to look at the integration of all variety of power energy production capabilities with the demand side of the grid, vehicle technologies, buildings, and so forth.
The ESIF is an absolutely fantastic facility to add to our energy community and the ability for us to do research.
ESIF is a state-of-the-art resource to advance clean energy technologies and practices, to research, develop, and validate at each phase of innovation.
There's not really been a place in the past to look at things and sort of plug it in and see if it works. And I think that's one of the unique capabilities that ESIF offers and something that I think will provide a lot of value to our society.
That's a very important aspect of this particular user facility, is to help those that will adopt technologies actually experience the technology before they take the risk of an investment.
The array of equipment and expertise at ESIF are available to entrepreneurs, utilities, industry, and academic partners to evaluate technologies and more quickly move them toward market adoption.
It brings together an entire community, all focused on this new area of science and engineering, if you will, systems integration, to create a knowledge base that's open and available to that community to be able to help us move forward at a faster pace.
The issue is now the challenge of integration, and that brings us here to ESIF.
As renewables become greater contributors, utilities are working with NREL to achieve their clean energy goals and ensure the infrastructure is ready and reliable.
I'm really excited about the next chapter in NREL's progress, and the integration of distributed generation of resources, et cetera, is a challenge. I also view it as an opportunity. We need to do it right. We need to be pragmatic about it. I think we can do that, and I think we can really unlock the power of the future beginning today.
It's going to help us transform the energy system to the one that we need in 2030.
We're open for business. We've got a brand new facility, once in a lifetime opportunity to come in and begin using a capability that looks at integration of energy systems, to be able to advance industry within this country, advance utilities, advance automobile manufacturing, just advance all aspects of our energy system in the world.
ESIF is about energy systems integration. It's analyzing and optimizing how technologies interact with one another.
What we do in this laboratory is actually take these individual technologies, characterize their performance and how they impact the actual grid, and then work with utilities to help them understand what these can do.
We're making the world think about how to integrate all these different components to have a greener, cleaner future, a sustainable future that doesn't depend on our traditional sources for electricity.
This facility is the intersection of renewable energy technologies and the systems to move that energy to our buildings and vehicles. It's addressing the challenges in increasing energy efficiency and renewable energy, offsetting the variable nature of sources such as wind and solar, and improving our infrastructure.
Power Systems Integration Laboratory, or PSEL, is our largest laboratory, and it's sort of the workhorse for the electrical systems laboratories.
The Power Systems Integration Laboratory at ESIF allows for real-time, full-power electrical performance and safety simulations. The circuit of AC/DC bus bars connects energy sources from thermal energy to transportation fuels and electricity to provide insights into impact and functionality.
So we can plug and play real-world technology and look at the impacts on the grid, for instance. Integrating that together is a major SCADA. It's a management system and facility.
We're standing in the control room right adjacent to the Power Systems Integration Laboratory. And what's going on behind us, we see display from our SCADA system. SCADA is the supervisory control and data acquisition system.
The SCADA system monitors and controls ESIF research and gathers real-time data for collaboration and visualization.
We're in our data immersion facility where we are able to display in 3D format all variety of data around the energy system. This particular display that you're looking at is organic PV materials.
This information brings energy management to life in a virtual environment for real-world analysis.
When you get large data sets like that, you simply cannot look at that data in a piece of paper and be able to really glean enough information out of it. So you get a facility like this where you can actually display the data in 2D and 3D formats, and you gain so much more insight.
We have a brand new high-performance computing data center, and the data center is built to house our HPC systems and support the breadth of the lab's mission.
The high-performance computing data center at ESIF is reimagining the once energy-hungry data centers of the past. It is one of the world's most energy-efficient data centers.
One of the things that makes our data center very efficient is we're using the liquid cooling, and liquids as a heat exchange medium are about 1,000 times more effective than air cooling. So a traditional data center, which is not as efficient, will use lots of fans.
And rather than exhausting heat from the computers, NREL is reusing it to warm the building, a more holistic approach.
From a data center perspective, it's a chips to bricks approach. So thinking about the component level liquid cooling within the servers, out to the racks, integrating this within a data center, and think broader into a more integrated campus.
In this laboratory, we look at the solar collectors.
Scientists at ESIF are studying ways to lower the costs of concentrating solar power systems, which can reliably provide dispatchable electric power whenever it's needed.
The advantage of this method is that it allows us to produce thermal energy storage. So when the sun's not shining, we can continue to generate steam and produce electricity.
ESIF's fuels and transportation labs are looking at accelerating development and deployment of hydrogen fuel cells and plug-in electric vehicles to lessen dependence on fossil fuels.
The ESIF allows high power to be integrated between different laboratories, including things like vehicles and large battery storage, as well as fuel cells that actually can convert hydrogen into electricity.
The ability to look across energy pathways, to be able to look at the trade-offs between electricity, thermal energy, and fuel was also a unique aspect.
Plug-in electric vehicles use electricity from the grid to store the energy on the vehicle. This facility can basically lower the risk by looking at what a high penetration of vehicles on the grid would do, and then provide mitigation strategies to make sure that they won't be a problem in the real marketplace.
Our goal here is to not just innovate, but to have impact at the end of the day.
The Energy Systems Integration Facility is the nation's newest asset for realizing our clean energy future. It brings together real-world experience in a laboratory environment at just the right time.
So as our whole energy system evolves in the future, we're going to have a much more complicated, much more diverse set of production and use capabilities. This facility will help industry, utilities, and the researchers understand what those interactions are.
ESIF is the toolbox for transforming our energy system, for research and development on a new scale to move renewable energy technologies to the market at greater speed. There is nothing like this in the world.
This facility allows us the opportunity to really be in the center of research and new approaches to integrating renewable energy and distributed sources onto the next generation smart grid.
Okay, so that's just a little bit about our newest facility. I don't know if you guys saw where you could walk through the solar cell. I think that's one of the coolest things. You put on it's like a gang gear type thing. You have these glasses with antennas, and then you can walk through like a solar cell to look at the data instead of just looking at the data on paper. So really cool facility. And on that note, if you're ever in the Golden, Colorado area, they do offer tours you can sign up for. I think it's like the third Thursday of the month. And it's on our public affairs website. So if you want to see this in real life, and sometimes they let you in there and you can actually put like the Game Gear stuff on and go through a building or solar cells, whatever it might be. Okay. So 3 areas that we focus on for DOE in general and NREL is security, economy, and environment. So reducing global warming, renewables are going to be in that field. I kind of see renewables as the future. I think most people do, but you have your own opinions on that, I'm sure. And then challenges to success. Well, part of it is policies. We have to, and we do have an area that focuses on navigating policies to get renewables onto the grid. It's going to be a changing economy from oil and gas to renewables, and there's policies that don't necessarily allow for renewables, so we got to figure out navigating those. It's not just an easy switch of a light that we can get renewables onto the grid. You have to do some battles that way. The aging infrastructure is the other issue. So as I said, these infrastructures are already old. They need to be replaced in general just for regular electricity, but when you add renewables to it and renewables produce energy, they're more likely to break. So we have that issue that we need to work with when it comes to renewables and overall infrastructure. Lack of knowledge and limited private investment. So those are some of our other areas, is making sure, I think you all know global climate change and global warming is a debate that isn't accepted by everybody. The views can be different depending on your views. So more knowledge and education that we need to get renewables out there will help push us into the future. And then NREL's solution to these is licensing technologies and trying to get them over the fence. So one project we have going right now is working with the DoD, Department of Defense. They have a goal they get rated on, their performance is rated on using less energy each year. So obviously renewables use less energy. So we work with them on some of our projects that we have going on, and it's easy to throw over the fence because right now we are a little bit higher than some other forms of energy, and so with their goal to reduce energy, it's easier for them to try it out before we take it on to mainstream. Establishing agreements, making sure we can progress renewables into the future. Unique research and test partnering facilities. So the ESIF is a test facility. That means we have industry partners that can come work with us. So all the national labs kind of have this user facility. We're supposed to be the best out there in our areas, right? So Vestas Wind Company will come to us and say, I have a new wind blade I want to try out, see if it will work. So they'll come to us, pay us money to do the research, and we give them the expertise. All of our scientists are top-notch, and we break their wind blades and tell them their problems. One thing is we don't actually produce. We give them the feedback, and they go produce. So nonprofit research and development. So we're not manufacturing or producing. We just give our expertise and help them break things. So. The innovation, spectrum of innovation. So we really need to be cutting edge. Since we are supposed to be the best and the brightest in renewable field and energy efficiency, we got to be cutting edge. And when we say, it used to be renewable energy only, now it's energy efficiency. So it doesn't always mean that, algae might not be the best way to make a renewable source. So we are looking at other options. So it's a full compass of energy efficiency, not just renewables. And if it doesn't make sense to have the renewables, that's part of our goal too. So we're trying to connect science to the marketplace and deliver market-relevant technologies competitive to clean energy products. So we need to be competitive, obviously, or people won't want to take on renewables. So as I said, industry partners. These are some of the industry partners we've worked with. I don't think it's on here, but we've worked with Coca-Cola with some of their trucks to make them hydrogen fuel cell. We have 250 plus industry partners. So that's a really cool thing for NREL. So what makes us great is, which makes us different when it comes to funding. We are funded by the Department of Energy, but we're also funded by these partners. So depending where funding is with government, we can always have industry partners to help fund us too. So we always kind of get money from both areas. Most of the labs have industry partners as well, but we have the most just because we're more applied instead of the basic science. So kind of a cool thing. So you could be working at NREL and also work with one of these companies, or you can work at one of these companies and work with NREL by giving us your products for us to test and give you feedback on. So again, our mission and vision is a clean future. There's a problem out there that we need to solve, and we're hopefully on it. And with our facilities, hopefully we'll get there. And then internship opportunities. So that's kind of the does anyone have questions on overview of NREL? If not, we can get questions if you want to. So I wanted to go over a couple of our internship opportunities. One that's coming up soon. I have handouts that kind of have an overview of all of them, so you can either come up afterwards if you actually grab it on the welcome to. But the two different internship opportunities is the Research Participant Program. We hire graduate and undergraduate interns in that, and we're on a year-round basis. So you could have an intern part-time right now. It might be a little difficult to commute from Pueblo, but if you're doing a co-op or if you've recently graduated, you can be an intern 12 months past graduation. So minimum 3.0 GPA, at least in your last semester, mainly because we want you to make sure that your grades aren't going to suffer if you take on an internship. Must be a full-time student, so you can't just be part-time. And then we hire about 90 of those every year, so a lot of opportunities in that program. This program, and I'll go into a little more detail. Oh, I forgot to do my thing. Detail on the next slide is the one that the cutoff date comes up really quickly. So it's a student undergraduate laboratory internship. They offer summer, fall, and spring opportunities. For the summer, it's 10 weeks. And then for the fall and spring, it's 16 weeks. About 40 hours a week is what they require, and they're kind of stickler, like if you want to take a week off for a vacation, they won't allow it. You have to do the whole 16 weeks. It's a very committed program. Yeah, did you have a question? All of our internships are paid. If you work at NREL, you have to be paid. It's a nice rule to have. DOE funded, so the other cool thing about the SULI program is all 17 national labs participate. So when you go to their application, which it's, you can go to this site or you can just go to the SULI application. When you apply, you can apply to multiple labs at once. So let's say you put NREL as your first choice because everyone loves NREL. Then maybe PNNL, which is Pacific Northwestern, up in Washington, or you could do Los Alamos, which is in New Mexico. You could do Lawrence Berkeley in California. And let's say NREL has too many opportunities and we don't select you, one of the other labs have an option to select you up to 3. So it's kind of a cool thing that you can apply for more opportunities than once. We hire about 60 in this program every summer and about 15 in the fall and spring. You can do 2 terms past graduation, but you can only do 2 terms in this program. And again, it's paid. And for more questions, there's a lot of questions on facts on it, FAQs on that website. So it's great for an undergraduate internship. They even offer an opportunity to get published at the end. You might have to do a little more work to actually follow through with publishing because it takes a little more than 10 weeks, but it does offer an opportunity for that. And then here's my contact information. I'm out of business cards, so I apologize. But the 2 different programs we have, the year-round one is located on here, which is also on your flyer, and then the SULI positions are at that one as well. And so that's kind of all I have as far as information, but questions would be great if you guys have any. Yeah? It's possible. One thing about NREL, as I said, we had to be the best and the brightest. We encourage second degrees, so like graduate level, so for a master's or a PhD. So usually what happens is you go in as an intern. Sometimes we will hire you just with a bachelor's, but then we sometimes will fund you to go to graduate school. So if that's a path you're wanting to go, or if you're wanting to stay at NREL, most likely a lot of our people have PhDs or masters. And part of that is just the expectation that we're supposed to be the best and the brightest. Yeah. Oh, question? Yeah, so it ranges a little bit from each program, but it's about $500 a week. And then if you're 50 miles or more, there's a stipend for housing, which varies as well from Golden, which I think all of you are 50 miles more, so that would be it. Mm-hmm.
For that undergraduate, what majors are
Yeah. So it's kind of interesting. I was told one point mechanical engineers were the most dominant. They can go in different areas, like they can go into transportation, they could go into energies integration, and they can go into PV. They kind of follow over everywhere. But mechanical engineers, chemical engineers, chemistry, physics, electrical, pretty much anything engineer. We don't do nuclear, but occasionally nuclear one will come in if you have other expertise. But I'm trying to think what we don't do. We do some civil engineers because of the buildings, but we do biology because of the bioenergy. We have a huge bioenergy area. We have wind turbines, so kind of everywhere. Other questions? No?
Can students pursue projects outside of their disciplinary? So like say that they're chemistry, but they're not interested in physics.
Yeah, that happens all the time. So the thing about NREL is when the people we hire usually have unique backgrounds. And they're just really good at research. So part of that is you can start in one area and go to another area. And one thing I encourage in general is national labs, like putting a national lab internship on your resume looks really good because of their reputation. So even if you're not interested in renewables, which I hopefully all of you are since you're here, I would also check out some of the other national labs because that experience looks really good on your resume. So any other questions? Mm-hmm. Like, what do you mean by diverse? Like, yeah. So, yeah. No. It's crazy. Our diversity on campus is really good. We recruit globally, so we have, I think I was told, 85 different nationalities represented on campus. So you get a lot of people that speak multiple languages. It's not just it's well diverse. And then on campus, like, we even have a sign language club. Like, we're very diverse in that matter. So, yeah. Let's see. I always like to give tips. If you're looking for jobs, always go to Indeed. It's an aggregator, and it gets all of them. That's always a good place to look for. Make sure you do cover letters for everything. And when you're doing a cover letter, especially at the National Labs, a lot of people are really passionate about what they do. So make sure you express that passion. And if you have a school project that you can relate to renewables or whatever your passion might be, make sure you can relate that into your cover letter and your resume. That's always good to put on there. Also, get a LinkedIn profile. I'm on LinkedIn, and one good thing that anytime you go to a networking event and you meet someone, go home and connect with them on LinkedIn. It's a nice reminder. And then once you're connected with them, you can reach out to them back in the future. So another way to kind of stay connected. And they'll remember you instead of, 6 months later when you want that internship and they don't remember who you were. So Danelle Wilder, you can go home and connect with me. If you don't have a LinkedIn profile, get one. We use LinkedIn Recruiter, and what we do when we post jobs, it tells us who matches our qualifications. So on your LinkedIn profile, make sure you put all of your qualifications on there because you'll show up on people's searches. I don't know if you've been told that, but those are always the key recruiting tips. Like to help you. Oh, and then check out a company on Glassdoor. They'll have it. And when you're interviewing, interview the people to make sure you can interview them, ask them questions to make sure that you'd be a good fit for them. I could ramble on, but I'll let you go. Any other questions?
I have a question about you and your background and how you came to.
Yeah. So I started like most people. I went to CSU Fort Collins. I got a teaching degree, taught a high school internship, career and technical education program, then started coordinating internships at NREL, and then I have a degree from BU in HR. So kind of a roundabout way, but I love students. I like the education system, so I get to go around and talk to college students about how great NREL is. So, no complaints. And on that, I have swag, which you know, gotta have that. So you have I Heart NREL sunglasses that you're more than welcome if you want to keep around. But yeah, any other questions? I know, right? Yeah.
Sorry, guys, interrupt, please. So I was thinking about you just shared your overview, and something that's been, at least in the national spotlight, is that the Department of Defense has officially declared that climate change is a major threat to national security. Since that announcement, like how long has that relationship with the DoD been happening? Has it been a long time in the making, or is it really?
Yeah. So what happened initially, and how it was explained to me, is that this goal became because people were losing lives. Our military people were losing their life transporting energy. So they would be in resort areas and they would need to get energy to different camps, and along the way they would get killed. So that, it's a huge issue, right? People are dying because they don't have the energy source that they can get. So that started probably about 5 years ago when they made a goal to reduce their energy, and they were being rated on their performance, on how much energy each of their people under them used. So it's been going for about 5 years, and it's a great project for us because, again, renewables aren't always the cheapest. We're trying to get there. We're trying to make them more affordable and more easy to get onto the grid. But the DoD, because lives were at risk, they have decided to work with us to have a collaborative goal. Yeah. Any other questions?
I have another question. Why is that iPad keep moving?
Yeah, it's following me. I have this thing, and so I move, and it moves. Right. Isn't this the coolest thing ever? So I can make it dance. Sorry. I know. It's the coolest thing ever.
It is pretty cool.
Yeah. It can. Do we want to view? We'll go all the way around to view the class. Say hi. Yeah. So, any other questions?
One final question.
Yep.
So wrapping around with what I asked with DoD, you also mentioned about the policy issues, because it's not if you have this renewable technology, it's not necessarily a smooth transition from fossil fuel policy specifically to renewable policy. Are there people at NREL that work on the political side of policy renovation, or is that kind of a separate thing from what you guys do?
We do. We have people in Washington, D.C. that are there to help us get our word out about NREL. It is difficult because when it comes, you're talking about economies, right? Like Shell Oil or any oil company doesn't want to say you're going to be gone in 10 years because renewables are going to be taken over. So, of course, they want to keep their business alive. There have been, I think, some of the oil companies have to have so many renewables by a certain date. I don't know the exact dates on that. It's a slow progression, and I think with more research showing that this will be a problem, and with NREL's help to make everything more affordable and an easy transition, because it's not always an easy transition with renewables. And storage is the huge thing right now. So we don't have a good way of storing the energy so you could use it later. It just doesn't work that way in the aging infrastructure. So for us to go 100% renewable, it might have to be more of a mandate from the government, or we're going to have to have a need for it. So there's a lot of politics when it comes to this area. So hard to say. I'm sorry, that's kind of a work of mine, but.
I have a question. I remember this is from the students. I promise. I had a couple students ask while I was advertising this if this if NREL is open for international students, or what the policy is for that. So
You can do an internship. As I said, we had 85 different nationalities on campus. We've recently opened it up to international students. As long as you have your F1 CPT or OPT, you're good to go. Right, yeah. So, and again, it's a great place to work. And if you are in the area on the third Thursday of the month, I would suggest signing up for a tour just to see the facility. Anything else?
Great. Thank you so much, Danelle.
Yeah, thank you.
And guys, feel free to stick around. I'm sure you don't have to interact in this big fishbowl way. If you guys want to walk around and talk with people, whatever you want to do.
Feel free. And if you need, I'm not getting a response on my resume, I can help you with that kind of stuff too.
Right. There's a little token of appreciation from us. Yeah, of course. And make sure everybody that you signed in, either on the paper or on the iPad, okay, before you head out. Thank you so much for coming, guys. This off, and you're welcome to just kind of hang out. Yeah.